The weather seems nice again today. Lots of outdoor events happening too, today and for the rest of the month. With that in mind, what did I read today? Speaking of outdoor events and all, how about we start with this one, which is kind of funny at first. As you know, in a lot of places, they're banning drones around sporting events because they say they're dangerous, they cause disruption. Well, how about this one, when a dog walks into a field and apparently they use a drone to scare it away? This one here says, drone saves the day as dog halts Australia West Indies test in Grenada. An unusual interruption during the second test between Australia and the West Indies left players and fans momentarily bewildered after a stray dog wandered onto the pitch and refused to leave until a drone came to the rescue. How would a dog even get there in the first place? I would imagine it has to go through a lot of different security checks and all. It says the incident occurred during the 33rd over the West Indies innings with the hosts on 124 for 4. Without warning, a black dog trotted onto the field from the deep cover boundary and took up a position on the turf, showing little interest in moving. Australian skipper Pat Cummins and pacer Josh Hazelwood attempted to shepherd the intruder off the field, but their efforts proved unsuccessful as the dog remained stubbornly in place. The match broadcasters deployed their aerial drone, typically used for sweeping camera angles to deal with the canine disruption. The drone was flown low behind the dog, and the sound of the whirring rotors proved enough to frighten it off the pitch. So in this case, it was a quote authorized drone, I guess you can say, but it's kind of an interesting twist, I guess, for all the other stories you've read. At the same time, is this going to generate controversy, for example, with animal rights activists saying that's animal abuse, flying the drone too close to them and so forth? This reminds me of that point I always say when it comes to a drone, it depends on what you're using and how overall, because like in this instance, imagine if it was just like a random drone, people would be fearing it's a bomb and saying it's going to kill everyone and so forth. But this should be the reaction in general. I mean, it's just a tool overall. And still with that theme of outdoor events, this was kind of interesting as apparently in Milwaukee, they replaced their fireworks show with drones due to budget issues. And the overall reaction wasn't very positive, it seems like, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like here it says, readers react to Milwaukee's first ever drone show. How does it compare to fireworks? For the first time since 2023, the Milwaukee lakefront was lit up for Independence Day, but not with fireworks this year. Crowds gathered around McKinley Beach to watch the city's first ever drone show, July 3rd. Last year, Milwaukee County canceled its annual event due to a lack of sponsorship funding. This June, the county announced it would swap the traditional fireworks for a drone show to reduce noise and air pollution. County leaders also said the drone show was $200,000 cheaper than a fireworks display. Overall, it didn't sound like people liked it very much. For example, with quotes here saying, "I hate everything about it," and people called the drone show ridiculous, a clown act, and it says here, one reader says they need the noise from the fireworks because I guess it adds to the excitement. They also indicate there's usually a packed crowd, but here I guess there wasn't as many people out. Now, I was trying to see online with various posts why that's the reason. It seems like the main criticism, which was consistent, was how the drone show consisted of a lot of advertisements, I guess you could say, spelling out company names and so forth. Like you can see in all these posts, people using vulgar language about it, saying they went there to watch basically a commercial. I know a lot of smaller scale drone shows do that, where they use their drones to spell out letters of, let's just say, the area, or at the same time, it's very basic stuff like a smiley face. So it makes you wonder, in that case, is it more people don't like a drone show versus a fireworks show, or is it just too underwhelming in terms of the presentation that people are doing in general? For example, even you guys reacted really positively when I showed those clips of that dragon drone show, for example. Can you imagine seeing that in the sky? I would imagine if you saw stuff like that in this show, people would be more receptive to it. But then again, you're not going to do that on a low budget nowadays anyways, because it's still kind of new, I guess you could say, for a lot of companies. It's just my opinion, but I would personally think artistically with this medium, you kind of need to do something with storytelling aspects to it. It could be music with voice and so forth or whatever. I think that would be more entertaining for this style anyways, because when it comes to things like fireworks, it's more of the immediate gratification, like the bang bang and this and that. Whereas for these drone shows, I would imagine it's more like watching a show or something like that. It doesn't have to be that complicated too. It's more about whether or not they could do it. For example, like this stuff actually was big online too when they saw it. Imagine like a drone show was like stickmen, for example, literally you animate it fast enough and have the sound effects where they're, for example, fighting each other and all that with over-the-top animation and sound. In my opinion, you need that type of storytelling and an emotion for this medium anyways, overall, versus if you're celebrating something really humongous like this 4th of July in the US, I would imagine people expect something extravagant. I mean, there's no difference than fireworks, for example. If somebody went there for a fireworks show in a celebration of the country's birthday, for example, and their fireworks consisted of just a bottle rocket and a Roman candle, I think most people would have the same reaction, like, what is this? So when it comes to these drone shows, in my opinion, companies just need to step up their game. All right, see you guys later.